Thank you, no pressure there. Okay, I better stand in front of this, otherwise you won't be able to see me. Right, there's only two things that you need to be successful with online marketing. One is traffic, and the other thing is conversions. You can have a lot of traffic, but if you don't have a website that converts, it's completely pointless having that traffic. And vice versa, you can have a website that converts fantastic, but if you never get the traffic, then again, completely pointless. So there's only two things that you need to get, so that makes it sound easy. Of course it's not, because there's so much to learn about each of those areas. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is website conversion optimization. Okay, so first an introduction about myself for those of you who do not know who I am. My name is Paul Bryant, and I'm now working for a company called Black Tiger Limited. I used to work for Monish as a product and affiliate manager since 2006, and I left in October last year. During the time that I worked at Monish, I spent time developing my own websites, mostly outside of the niches that Monish operate within. But I was able to build those websites up so that I was earning enough income for me to be able to go as a full-time affiliate. So now I currently own and operate over 30 affiliate and merchant websites. And because of this, website has not only become a passion of mine, but it's also become a critical part of my business as well. Okay, so everything that I'm about to tell you is based upon either my own experience or other people's experience and research. Some of it is more related to affiliate websites, some of it's more related to merchant websites, but the point is that everything that I'm about to tell you can be adapted and changed to suit pretty much any type of website in any type of niche. So today we're going to look at the theory of conversions. So we're going to define what a conversion actually is, look at the consumer buying decision-making process, look at the ADA model, and then I've got 25 sort of conversion tips for you, so questions that you can ask yourself about your own website to see if you're on the right path. And they're going to look at website design, copywriting layout, and copywriting language. And then briefly we're going to look at some of the key metrics that you can use to help get the right conversion rates on your websites, and the importance of split testing, and then finally we'll summarize and I'll take any questions you've got. Okay, so the theory of conversions. So firstly, anybody want to volunteer an answer for what we mean by a conversion?
What do we buy conversion?
Yeah, what's a conversion?
The consumer buys.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Buys whatever it is you're trying to flow.
Okay. You're right, it is that, but it's not just that. One of the important things to realize is that a website conversion does not have to be a purchase. It can be any action that you want somebody to take on your website, which of course I know you know that, but obviously that's one of the things to keep in mind. So a website conversion can be defined as a percentage of visitors to a website who take a specific desired action before going on and leaving the website, or it may take place on the website. So as I said, conversion does not have to be a sale. It's up for you to decide what user action you'll count as a conversion. So on a merchant website, a conversion is more than likely going to be a sale or a lead. On an affiliate website, your conversion could be a lead, it could be a click-through to the product website, or it could even be the end result, as in the point a person purchases. Okay, so you can look at several different conversion metrics on the same website to decide which ones are the most important to you and your style of website. A good conversion rate, and that is based upon making a sale on a product website. So the amount of traffic that clicks through to a product website, if you're converting at around 1 in 10 as an affiliate, then you're doing pretty well. Okay, a good conversion rate depends completely on the type of product you've got, the type of site you've got, the niche you're in, how much the product costs. There's so many different factors that it's impossible to say, yes, this is the conversion rate that everybody should be aiming for. But it's up to you to decide what is the best one for you. Okay, so looking at the consumer buying decision-making process, some of you may be familiar with this, some of you may not. But basically, this is the path that it is assumed that most people take when they're purchasing a product. Okay, so the first thing that somebody does is they have the need recognition. So this is when they realize that they have a problem that they need a solution to. So they realize that they need a certain product to fill that need. And then once they've established this, they'll move on to information searching, which is when they go off and they start finding information about that type of product and look for information that will help them make a choice. And then following that, they start evaluating the alternatives. So they look at the other products that are out there and what are the choices, which one is going to suit them the best. And then finally, they move on to the purchase, where they actually obviously buy the product. And then they do a post-purchase evaluation. And that's when they start looking at the product they bought, whether it offered value for money, whether it fulfilled the need that they'd recognised at the very start of the process. And at that point, they decide whether they're going to purchase the same product again, purchase a different product, or just not purchase another product of that type. So another question for you, since you're also keen to give me answers. What stage does an affiliate site enter this model? Who said all of them? Oh, Andy. Yeah, you've seen the presentation, so that's cheating. But yeah, the point is that an affiliate site can enter this model at any stage. Now, a lot will depend on the keywords that you're targeting and the keywords you're getting traffic from, but you can get somebody who's at any point in this process. So just to give you an example of how that path might take place for weight loss, somebody might realise that they need to lose weight, so a bit porky. So the first stage that they go through is the need recognition, and they search for something such as how to lose weight. And that brings up a load of different information, from dieting to fitness programs and perhaps weight loss pills. So at that point, they then start searching for types of weight loss pills, so information searching. So that then brings up all the different types. So appetite suppressants, fat blockers, carb blockers, all the different types that we know. And at that point, they then have to make a decision, oh, maybe Hoodia is the best one for me. So then they start doing the evaluation of alternatives. So they search for Hoodia pill reviews to find out what Hoodia products are out there, and again, try and find a Hoodia product that suits them. And then they move on to purchase, so they decide that unique Hoodia is the best option for them. So they search for buy unique Hoodia or keywords related to that. And then finally, they move on to post-purchase evaluation, and they may decide that actually unique Hoodia didn't give them the benefits they were hoping for. I'm sure they wouldn't, but they may decide that, and at that point, they would then search for alternatives to unique Hoodia. They may also decide they do want to buy it again and start searching for voucher codes and other terms related to buying unique Hoodia again. So it's important to realise that your site can enter and will enter at perhaps several stages of this, again, depending on what keyword you're targeting. And there's no right or wrong stage to enter. Okay, I think the super affiliates talked a little bit about how you can go for keywords that bring in a lot of traffic but are not very targeted, or you can go for keywords that are very targeted and convert really well, but there's not as much of it. And that's exactly right. So how to lose weight, there's a lot of people searching for that. But as they go through each process, the amount of people searching gets less and less. So although there's more traffic, it's harder to convert. But if you go for the ones later down the line when they're already ready to buy, there's not much traffic there to get, so it's more difficult to get the traffic. So what's perhaps best is to get a mixture of all of those different types. But the key thing to do is when they get to your website, whatever stage they're on, you need to have a website that's set up to be able to take them down through each of these processes. So if you're getting a lot of traffic from people wanting to know how to lose weight, make sure your page tells them not only how to lose weight, but also feeds them down the path that then makes them want a weight loss pill, wants a Hoodia pill, wants unique Hoodia, and then buys, or whatever product you want to push. So that's the key thing to think about. Okay, so as well as this, some more information that's key to being able to get successful conversion optimization. You need to know something about your customer demographics. Okay, so you don't need to know every little thing about the person, but having some idea on their age, gender, disposable income, that kind of thing can help you to build a site that appeals to them more. Location is probably the biggest one on there. A lot of you will probably be targeting UK, a lot will be targeting US, and a lot will be targeting both. And you may be aware that there's a big difference between a UK customer and a US customer in terms of what appeals to them. UK customers are typically more skeptical, and they like to see hard facts about a product rather than sort of vague claims, and they don't like to be sold to with high pressure selling, whereas a US customer generally prefers, they like a bit of the hype, they're not so worried about claims being substantiated properly. They just want to know that this product's going to work for them and it's going to be brilliant. So depending on whereabouts most of your customers are, should affect on how you actually write that copy and how you try and appeal to them. Okay, you also want to know the customer stage in the buying decision-making process, as we've mentioned. You want to know the reason why the customer wants to purchase a product. Okay, so you want to know the benefits that they're going to get out of the product. Only if you know the benefits that somebody is looking for, can you appeal to them by telling them what benefits they're going to get out of a product. You want to know the path that a customer takes before converting, so this would be a conversion funnel. So in other words, what pages on your website do most visitors take before ultimately taking the conversion that you want them to. And when you know that, you can identify what the strong and the weak links in that conversion funnel are. So if there's one page that's particularly strong, make sure that you're getting as many people to that page as possible. If there's another page which is quite weak, then you either need to improve that page dramatically, or you need to bypass that page and try and make sure that people miss that page out if it's not that important to the actual conversion. And then finally, you need to know how the customer perceives your product compared to the competition. If the customer sees that Practol is a premium product and that it costs more than some of the other weight loss products, then there's no good telling them that Practol's a complete bargain and that they should buy it because it's so cheap. What you need to do is you need to justify why is Practol more expensive, what benefits does it offer over the cheaper products, and why is that a better product to buy. Okay, so you need to know all of these things to be able to successfully convert visitors to your website. Okay, so now we're going to look at the AIDA model. The AIDA model is a marketing model which assumes that to make any sale, or in this case a conversion, you first need to get the awareness and the attention of a visitor. You then need to create an interest, and then you need to turn that interest into a desire, and then finally you need to lead that person down the path so that they take the action and actually purchase a product. Okay. Although it depends on your site purpose, your target audience, the type of site you've got, the niche, lots of different things, pretty much every single website and every single page on a website will need to stick to this model if you're going to be successful. Okay, so don't just think about your homepage. Your homepage is very important because most of your visitors will see that, but every single page on your site, if it's going to get any traffic, it needs to follow this route, otherwise you're never going to make the conversions. And also important to think here is that the action can vary from page to page. For instance, on your homepage, the action that you want somebody to take is not necessarily to purchase. The action you want them to take is to click through to perhaps a review page. Similarly, if they land on an article page, you don't want them to purchase directly from the article, you want them to go through to the review page as well. Whereas somebody landing on the review page, the action you want them to take is to click through to a product site and purchase. So the action can change depending on your website. So how you do this will change slightly as well. But the important thing is to make sure that your website, every single page follows that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at each of these stages, and I'm going to give you a few tips for each of these stages. Now, it must be said as well that all of the tips that I'm giving you is by no means a comprehensive overview of conversions. There's a hell of a lot more to take into account, and there's a lot of differences depending on sites, but this sort of gives you some guidelines that you can use to try and improve your websites. Okay, so another question for you. How long do you have to get a visitor's attention? How many seconds? 8. Yeah, 8. It depends on where you look, but generally most people say 7 or 8 seconds. I've got less than 7 seconds up there. But that includes page load time as well. Okay, and if anybody's not sure on how long that is, I'm going to show you. However, do pay attention because I'm going to ask questions. Okay, anybody want to shout out some of the things that they noticed on the Unicudia site? It's a bit biased because you've all seen this site before, but anybody want to volunteer? The affiliate code, great. Anybody else want to?
It's like the email on the side.
The email? Okay, anybody else notice potential weight loss?
I mean, 7 seconds pictures.
The pictures, yeah.
You know, so
Yep.
the woman and the guy with the box are sort of straight away.
Right, okay. One thing to pick up on there is that everybody noticed different things. So you can do as much as you can to try and get certain things to stand out, but it doesn't mean that everybody will always see the same things immediately. But what you've got to do, because you've got that 7 or 8 seconds, maybe less, including your page load time, is you've got to make that impact, and you've got to get the attention of the person and make them want to read more in those few seconds that you've got. So 5 ways that you can do to help yourself do that is, firstly, optimize your page load time. Obviously, the quicker the website loads, then the more time you've got left to create that impact with what's on the site. You can also make use of flash and animation to get attention. So make sure that the key points that you want to stress are perhaps in a flash animation and standing out. There should really be benefits. It's no good just having "welcome to my website" as a flash animation, because that's not giving the person any reason to carry on reading your site. So you want to try and get the benefits to stand out through that. Keep your header 1 text large, and you can use conflicting colors to stress the benefits on this page as well. And adding bullet points above the fold. By above the fold, I mean what's immediately visible without the visitor having to scroll down. So putting bullets above the fold that quickly sum up the benefits. Bullets are nice and easy to read. You can make things stand out on there. Again, you can get the benefits across as to why somebody should spend time reading your website. And then finally, use an image above the fold that conveys at least one benefit. Okay, so an image on its own is good, but unless it's actually adding to conversion, it's not pointless, but not particularly useful either. What you want is an image which either adds an image, conveys a benefit, or actually has the text on the image as well to help it stand out. So the eyes get brought into the image, and then they read the text as well. Okay, so your job is to tell a visitor immediately why they should continue to spend the next few minutes of their life reading what you have to say. Okay, everybody's only on this earth for a short period of time, and it's up to you to justify why your site why the visitor should spend a few minutes reading your site. And remember, this goes for every single page on your site, not just the home page. Okay, so looking at Unicudia, just to pick out some of the things that they did that apply to that. So starting at the top, the most effective Hoodia product ever developed, 100% pure, extra strength, maximum potency. You won't see it on there because it's a screenshot, but that's actually a flash animation. And what comes in, the 100% pure, extra strength, and maximum potency, flash in red as well. So they get your attention immediately. You've also then got the header 1 text, which is quite large. Maximum potency Hoodia, you can suppress your appetite, consume less calories, and lose 1 to 5 pounds per week. So it's stressing benefits immediately. It's quite large, and they're also using the conflicting color of the red to stress the lose 1 to 5 pounds per week. Then just below that, you've got the graphical image, which, because it's just showing the Hoodia, it's got the credibility on there, but it's not really a benefit. It's got the BBC logos, CBS and ABC, but to help stress the benefit again, we've got above that, start losing weight today. And also, critically, that image is also clickable and goes through to the order page as well, so it's providing a path for somebody to purchase. And then to the left of that, you've got 4 bullet points. It's important not to put too many bullet points together, because if you do that, then they'll lose their effect completely. So by keeping them short, you've got 4 there, which are quite easy to read, and they get attention. And anybody who wants a very quick overview of the site and what it's all about can just read those 4 bullet points and make a decision as to whether they want to carry on reading or not. So Unicudia does a fairly good job of getting visitors' attention. And you can learn a lot just by looking at some of the product sites that more niche have got, because they all tend to follow similar kind of principles, and the reason for that is because over the many years that Monash have been in operation, they know that those principles work. Okay, so moving on to interest. Okay, so which of these statements makes you more interested? I'll read them out for you in case you can't read them. Statement A, product X is the best in the product in the market. Our customers have said that we provide better results than any of our competitors. Or you've got statement B, as the market leader, you may not be surprised to find out that product X can help you lose weight. However, did you know it can also help you lose weight up to twice as fast as dieting alone? So show of hands, perhaps, who thinks statement A is more interesting? And statement B? Right, pretty much everyone. And I'm not Darren Brown, but you probably went for statement B, and you did. Okay, so both statements say more or less the same thing. However, statement B is clearly more interesting because it talks about specific benefits of the product. It's believable, and it's talking with the customer rather than at the customer. It does that by using more you-focused language, which is key in getting a visitor's attention. If you talk about yourself all of the time with we, us, all of those kind of words, then people will, you're talking at the person rather than with them. What you want is a conversational type approach, and you can do that by using the you word. So you're relating everything to the visitor by saying, you will have this, you will do this. Okay, so 5 ways to get more interest from your visitor. Use plenty of you-focused language. Talk about specific benefits, not vague claims. Give enough detail to entice them to read more. Ensure that the information is relevant to both the visitor and the product. So again, it goes back to some of the key things you need to know. So understand what the customer wants from the product and make sure you relate that fairly early on the page. And format the content so that it can be quickly and easily read. If any of you have ever installed like ClickTail or any Robot Replay or any similar kind of software which basically tracks how a visitor uses a web page, you probably have seen that what most people do is they scan through a web page quite quickly, just letting their eyes drift over the text, go all the way down to the bottom, and then they scroll back up to the key areas that stood out to them, and then they read more information. So what you need to do is, on any web page, make sure that you've formatted the content so that, firstly, somebody can easily scan through a page, pick out the key points on the page, and then be able to go back to it easily and read more, and then click through and perhaps read more or take the action that you want. So a visitor to your anybody who visits your website is already giving you their interest. What your job is to do is to increase that interest and make them want to carry on reading your website. And that's done best by relating specific benefits to them as if you already know them, so as if they're a friend. So keeping that conversational, you-focused approach and telling them what the benefits are and why they should keep on reading. Okay, then if you've successfully done that, then you can move on to desire. So another question for you. So one of the best ways to create desire is to use emotions within your copy. So which one of these statements sound best to you? Statement A, you'll become more attractive to women. This might not apply so much for the ladies in the room, but statement B, imagine looking across the room, your heart thumping as a slim, cute blonde throws you a smile that you could only mean one thing. Would you like this to happen time and time again? Okay, one guess for what product that was from. So a show of hands again, who thinks statement A makes them desire a product more? And who thinks statement B? Yeah, everyone again. Okay, so you went for B again. So once again, it's the best because it's more specific, but it also uses more sensory language as well. So it doesn't just tell you this is a benefit, it makes you imagine what that benefit actually means to you and the feelings that you will experience with those benefits. And that is one of the most key things to create the desire. Anything else, just stressing benefits is great, but all it does is really create the interest. To create the desire, you need to make people really want the product. Okay, so 5 ways to create the desire within your visitor. So again, keep the you-focused language going to make sure that customer knows you're talking to with them rather than to them. Bring in more sensory language to ignite their emotions, and make it feel like they'll be losing out if they don't buy the product. So one way you can create desire is by stressing the benefits and what it'll mean if they do buy the product. However, you can also do it by creating the fear of missing out. So if you don't buy this product today, then you're still going to be fat next week. That kind of thing. Obviously not quite as direct as that, but you get the idea. Okay, you also need to be believable. If you make an unrealistic claim, then all desire and interest will disappear and people will move on to a different website. Include testimonials that evoke that I want to be like them feeling. Okay? Most of the products have got plenty of testimonials that you can add to your sites, and what testimonials do is people read them or watch them if they're a video and they think, I want to be like that person. Okay? It makes them believe the benefits are real more. I mean, again, just going back to super affiliates being sat there, they all agreed that seeing other people making money from affiliate marketing was what motivated them to go on and work as an affiliate and make money themselves. And it's the same thing whenever you buy another product. If you can see that other people are getting the benefits you want out of a product, then it becomes a no-brainer and you want that product as well. Okay, so to create the desire, you need to get more creative with your copywriting and evoke the emotions of the customer. And then if you've done all of that, you should now be able to make the action part take place. And how we can do that is with call to action, links and graphics. So another question for you, which is the better call to action? Both say exactly the same thing, but one is a text link and the other is a graphical link. Okay, so a show of hands for the text link, and a show of hands for the graphical link. And anybody want to show the hands for both? A few people? Okay, the answer is that actually they're both as good as each other, because we don't all navigate through websites the same way. The same thing doesn't appeal to everybody. Some people prefer clicking on text links, some people prefer clicking on graphical links. So the key thing is to make sure that you've got a mixture of the two throughout the site, and also make sure that no matter where somebody is on your website, they can click a call to action link and go through to whatever action it is that you want them to make. Okay, so if you're missing graphical call to action links, then you might want to look at adding them. Equally, if you're missing text links, go through your site and start adding some more in as well. Okay, so 5 ways to help get your customer to take action. Use a variety of different call to action graphics and text. Introduce an urgency to buy. So one of the best ways to get somebody to take an action straight away is to create an urgency through things like limited time discounts, vouchers, offers, that kind of thing. Give them a reason to purchase now. If you don't, then they may think to themselves, well, I'll go away and I'll think about it and I'll come back and do it. And the chances are, if they do come back, they may not find your website. They'll either go to Merchant Direct, or they'll find another affiliate site, or they'll just forget about it altogether and either decide they don't want the product or completely even forget that they looked at your website. So it's important to create that urgency to get somebody to purchase there and then, because you may never get a second chance. Okay, you need to also reassure the customer that they're making the right decision. We've probably all had that feeling, especially on higher price products, where we're all set to buy it and then we get to a stage where we're about to give our credit card details out and suddenly we have a second thought, is this product really worth the money, can I really afford it, etc., etc. So the key thing there is to make sure that you reassure the customer. So you can do that by mentioning if there's a guarantee, because a guarantee makes it a no financial risk purchase, because they know that, yeah, right, they can take the risk now and purchase, but if they don't like it or if it doesn't work, they're going to get the money back, so they can't lose. So that reassures them that, yes, it's worth you spending your money because you're not going to lose your money. You can also do it through the use of testimonials, again, that I want to be like you feeling. Okay, make a clear recommendation as to what customers should buy. So this is one thing a lot of affiliates make a mistake on, and that is you get somebody through to your review page and they're ready to buy, they just need to know which product is best for them. But what you end up doing is you give them 3 different products, which you say each one is fantastic and the best product. And if you do that, then somebody's just going to look at it and say, well, firstly, why are they saying all three are so brilliant? Are they got ulterior motives there? But also they're going to say, well, which one is best for me? Then I'm completely confused. And the chances are they'll then go off and go back to Google and type in those products and look for more reviews and find another affiliate site before they purchase, because you haven't told them which product is best for them. So the trick to it really is to make that recommendation, but to still make it feel to the customer as though they're making that decision themselves. So you're leading them down the path that you want them to take. They're still making the decision, but what they don't realise is that you've done everything you can to lead them to that decision. So always make sure that you have one product which you recommend highly as the best product for that visitor to choose, and then you have another one which is just an alternative, which helps to add to your credibility as an independent reviewer. And then you may want to have a third choice as well for those people who really don't want either of the first two. But just make sure that it's clear that this is the best, this is the next best, this is your final alternative. And for a merchant website, one of the popular ways to do that is on the order page, if you've got, say, let's say you've got a 1 month, a 3 month, and a 6 month package, that you'd make one of those packages, you'd label it as the most popular package. Okay, it's done a lot on the more niche products. So you don't generally put the most expensive one as the most popular, because a lot of customers would see straight through that as you're just trying to make as much money. But if, for example, you put the 3 month one as the most popular, then people are going to believe that that is the most popular, because why would you tell them that a product that's not earning them as much money is the most popular one? And it also helps them to make that decision. So they're not going to get to the order page and say, oh, well, do I want a 1 month, or do I need 3, or do I need 6 months? But you can also do that on your affiliate sites as well by making that recommendation as to, look, the best value package that you can get is the 4 month one. Don't worry too much about the 6 month one. Yeah, if you're really sure you want the product, go for it. But the 4 month one gives you these benefits. So just make it as easy as possible for someone to take that action. And again, you can create a fear of missing out. So it comes back to, if you do not buy today, then. And you give them a reason why, if they don't buy today, they're going to be missing out on something. Okay, so this is one of the most critical parts of the process. You've got to take everyone through all of the other stages, but at this point, this is your make or break moment. If you lose somebody at this stage, you've done all the hard work and you've got none of the benefits. So what you need to do is you need to make sure it's as easy as possible for a customer to take action. So if it is to get to your review page, make sure you've got lots of links going to your review page. Put it in your navigation so that no matter where anybody is on your site, they can always see a link to go through to the page that you most want them to visit. And it's impossible to overvalue this part of the process. Okay, so now we're going to move on to 25 conversion questions to ask yourself. Some of these will sort of repeat what we've already said, but if they do, that's because they're really important ones. But everything on here, you need to ask yourself about your websites, see if it applies to you, and if it does, make changes based upon that. It's no good just knowing this stuff if you never act upon it. Okay, so starting off with design and layout. So, is your site optimized to load as quickly as possible? Remember, we've got the less than 7 seconds to make that impact. So make sure that your website is optimized to load as quickly as possible. Oops. Number 2, is it easy for the visitor to take action no matter where they are on the site? And then number 3, is all of your key information contained within the golden triangle? Okay, the golden triangle, for those of you who are not aware, is a theory that's been developed from the use of eye tracking, where there's technology which tracks where a visitors' eyes are looking on a web page, and it creates hotspots on the website depending on where most people's eyes look on the page. And the image there is actually a Google's result page, and as you can see, there's kind of a golden triangle in the top left where we've got the darker red and the orange and the yellow colour, and that's where most people's eyes are focused. Now, obviously with Google results, you would kind of expect that to an extent because all of the results are aligned to the left. But there are also the PPC ads to the right as well, which you can see they're the sort of bluey spot to the right, which for some reason do not get anywhere near as many views as that top left-hand corner. And that top left-hand corner, the golden triangle, can be applied to pretty much any site. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that as much of your key information as possible is contained within that golden triangle. Okay, so number 4, are you using contrasting colors to get attention to keywords? Okay, so we looked at the H1 tag on Unicudia. One of the key phrases, which was a benefit, used contrasting colors to get attention. So make sure you're doing a similar kind of a thing. Mainly just on your H1 tags to get that initial attention, maybe on your H2 tags as well. What you want to avoid doing is using too much color throughout the content. Otherwise, what you'll end up with is a rainbow where nothing actually stands out. So you've got to use it sparingly, use it in the right places, but make sure you are using it to some extent. Are you using Flash or animation to get attention? If you're not, then you might want to consider getting a Flash graphic or animated GIF done that sits near the top of your site that gets across the benefits quickly. Have you got the images that also convey the benefits? Okay. Again, more niche in the resource area, there's a lot of images that you can use, call to action images, which give a benefit and are also got the click here as well, because you've also got to make sure that the images are clickable. Okay. People do like to click on images, and images get attention. So if you're using images in the right places, not only does it break up the copy as well and make it easier to read, but they also become a key part of that conversion process. Is all of your key information visible above the fold? Okay, so remember, above the fold meaning without somebody having to scroll down the page. Okay, you need to make sure, you can't guarantee that everybody will scroll down the page, so you need to make sure as much of the information as possible is within that first section that people see. And are you using a mixture of call to action graphics and text links? Again, people have different stimuli. Some people respond better to text links, some people respond better to graphical links. Is the navigation clear and user-friendly? Okay, there's nothing worse than being on a website where you know the information's there, but you can't see how you actually get to the information. I'm sure everybody here has been on a website that has done exactly that. And it's incredibly frustrating, and you don't spend that long looking for it. Eventually, you'll just click away and find another website. So make sure that your navigation is clear, user-friendly, but also make sure that the key pages you want people to see are as high up the navigation as possible. Okay? Think about the golden triangle if you've got a left-hand nav. If your key conversion page is near the top, then most people will see it and more people will click it. Okay, does the navigation appeal to both information gatherers and purchasers? So there's 2 types of people who can visit your website. One type is the person who wants more information. Okay, they're still not sure what they actually want to buy, if they want to buy anything at all. They want as much information about a product as possible before they'll even consider making a purchase. But there's also people who either already know they want to purchase, or they just need a very brief overview before they go on to purchase. And your job is to appeal to both of those customers in one go. So a popular way of doing that, again, is to use the bullet points, give them some text, but then allow them to either click through to take the action or click through to find out more information. Okay, so try and appeal to both of those types of visitors. And then number 12, is your header or logo taking up too much space? Okay, this is definitely one of the biggest problems that I saw with affiliate sites when I was an affiliate manager, and that is people having huge headers and logos which add nothing to the conversion. All they do is take up space. Okay, if you look at some of the big e-commerce sites, so places like Amazon, Dell, even Tesco online, look at the size of their logos and the headers. The logo is usually very small, the header's also very small. And what that does is it gives you more content area above the fold where you can put your key benefits. This is even more important, I think, for affiliates because I'd have thought most people here, they do not have a recognized brand. Okay? And therefore, what is your website logo at the top of your site actually doing? All it's doing is reminding people what page they're on, and if they want to come back, they can recall it by looking there. It's not actually adding anything. It's not giving them any benefits, so why have it big? It wants to be quite small, along with the actual header size quite small as well, so you can use the rest of the space much more effectively. Okay, moving on to copywriting layout. Are you building keywords and phrases? Okay, so these tips all come back to what I mentioned earlier about the scannability of a page. People scan through a web page and pick out the key points before going back up to read more information. So what you need to do is you need to format your text so that people can easily scan through the web page. So bolding is one way that you do that. You can bold the keywords and the key phrases, which, as Craig mentioned, may have some effect for SEO, but it's more likely to have an effect on conversion, so do it for conversion. Are you using bullet points to break up the text and to show the key points? Okay, so again, using your bullet lists. Using subheaders to help emphasize benefits even more. It's also good from an SEO point of view because you can get more keywords in there. But use your subheaders to emphasize the benefits and also break up your web pages into sections. So again, if somebody scanned through your site, got to the bottom, decided, oh, yeah, that second section was quite interesting. If you've marked it clearly with a nice subheader, then it's easy for them to find it again and click through and go on and read more information. Keep your paragraphs short. If your paragraphs are more than 4 to 5 lines in length, that's length on the page, not as in 4 to 5 sentences, then people will find it a lot more easy to digest the information and read it. There's nothing worse than seeing a huge paragraph on a web page because you look at it and you think that's going to take a lot of work to read, and generally you don't read it, and if you do read it, you don't really take a lot of the information in. And I'm going to show you that in a second. Also, keep your sentences short as well. Less than 10 to 15 words is ideal. It's not always possible, but certainly most sentences on your web page should be within that limit. Okay, so just an example of what I'm talking about, particularly with the paragraph length, but also with some of the other key things. So if you try and read that paragraph there, it's quite difficult to read. Now, you'll see it's talking about Pure Berry. It's not actually presented like this on the Pure Berry site, just disclaimer for you. But that's actually quite difficult to read. I think you'd all probably agree with that. It's not the easiest. So if we apply the formatting tips that we've just spoke about, it becomes that. And that says exactly the same. I haven't changed any single word on there. It's exactly the same content. And to me, and hopefully to you, that looks a lot easier to read. You can scan through it, you can see which parts have been bolded, you can see the bullet points, and you can get a good idea just from scanning through that, what is essentially one paragraph of text, but broken out. You can get a quick idea of what the product is all about and what the key benefits are. So remember, that says exactly the same thing as the previous one. It's just how it's been presented, which makes it easier to read and therefore will help conversions. Okay, so looking at copywriting language. So are you taking your visitors through the AIDA model? So remember, awareness or attention, interest, desire, action. Every single page on your website should be taking people through that process. So always ask yourself if you are following that process. Are you using your sensory language to evoke the emotions? Okay, make people imagine things in their mind. Don't just tell them what the benefit is. Make them imagine it, and then you'll get the desire for them to purchase. Focus on the visitor, so talk with them, not at them. Use lots of you-focused copy. Don't talk about yourself too much. Okay, make it all relevant to the customer. Are your claims believable? Okay, it's no good telling somebody that, you know, if they take 1 Proactol pill, then they'll shed 3 stone in 2 days, because it's just not going to happen, and people know that's not going to happen. So make sure it's believable. Focus your copy on benefits, not features. Okay, a lot of people think that you buy on features, but you don't. You buy on benefits. As an example, if you buy, let's say, a 40-inch TV, you don't buy it because it's 40 inches. The fact that it's 40 inches on its own is nothing. What you buy it for is the benefit that those 40 inches of TV give you, in that you can enjoy the program more, you can sit further away and see it better. Watching sport and movies and that kind of thing just all becomes a lot better. So make sure that you always justify any features with a benefit. So you don't just say that this product has a guarantee, say that it has a guarantee, which means you can buy without any risk, and that if it doesn't work, you'll get your money back. Is your copy easy to understand? So could a 10-year-old understand it? Perhaps some of you have got sons, daughters, nephews, or whatever who are around that age. You can even ask them, perhaps not with the male enhancement sites, but with the child-friendly sites, shall we say. Ask them to read the site and see if they understand it. And in general, if you can make your website understandable by a 10-year-old, then it will be understood by most of your website visitors. You cannot overestimate how intelligent your visitors are. It sounds silly, but a lot of the visitors will have low reading ages, will not be well educated, and you want your website to be understood by as many people as possible. So if a 10-year-old can understand it, then you're on the right path. Are you creating an agency for the visitor to take action? So remember, you can do that through the limited time discounts, vouchers, anything that you can think of to make it give a person a reason to buy now rather than wait and potentially not ever come back. And then finally, number 25, are you reassuring people with testimonials and guarantees? So remember, before they purchase, they're going to question as to whether they're making the right decision. If you can reassure them by saying, yes, you are, because look at these people who have also, one, sat in your position and they went on to purchase, and now they've got all of these fantastic benefits, then you're going to reassure the person. And equally, with a guarantee as well, you're reassuring them about the financial aspect of it. Okay, so that sums up the sort of 25 conversion tips, if you like. So now briefly going to look at the key metrics that you can use to help aid conversion. Okay, so these are based on analytical software, mainly Google Analytics. I should think a lot of you have got Google Analytics installed. If you've got a different type of statistical package, then these kind of measurements will probably still exist. If you don't have any analytical software installed, then I would strongly recommend installing it because it tells you so much about your visitors and helps you so much in creating a website that sells. Okay, so some of the key things to look at is you want to look at the most popular pages on your site. So which are the top 3 pages that people are visiting? Generally, your homepage will be number 1, or at least number 2, just because your homepage tends to rank for more keywords and just generally gets more traffic. But what you want then is to make sure that your conversion page is within the top 3. So conversion for an affiliate site might be your review page. Okay, you want to make sure that that page is in the top 3 visited pages, because if it's not, then enough people are not seeing it and you're not making the most of the traffic you're getting. So you might need to look at the conversion funnel, how you're trying to get people through to those pages. You might want to look at the home page and whether it's getting the attention and the interest and allowing people to click through to that main conversion page that you've got. You want to look at your click-through and conversion rate. Okay, so remembering conversion depends on what you want to classify it as, whether it's a sale, whether it's a click-through, whether it's a lead, whatever it is, you obviously need to be keeping an eye on that, and you can do that through Google Analytics. They've got the goals function, but you could also base it on whether people are actually seeing the page or not. You can look at the average time on site and on each page as well. Now, it's important to realize that the average time, there's no right or wrong average time on any page. It depends completely on what that page is all about. For example, if you've got a very short page, which is just giving a summary and then trying to get people through to another page as quickly as possible, then you'd expect the average time on your site on that page to be quite low because you want it to be low. On the other hand, if you've got a page which is giving a lot of information, then you might want people to spend more time on that page. And if they're not, then it might be that it's not formatted in a way that appeals to people. Then you can also look at the page bounce rate, which again does depend on what kind of a page it is on your site. Google defined the bounce rate as somebody who lands on a certain page and exits without seeing any of the other pages. On other analytical software, it can be a bounce can be classed as somebody who spends less than a certain amount of time on the site. So you need to firstly understand what the bounce rate actually means on your statistical package, and then look at that on each page and try and work out which pages are supposed to be getting people to click through to other pages on your site but are not doing that. Again, for instance, a review site, will probably have quite a high bounce rate because the main purpose of the page is to get people to click off and go through to a product site as soon as possible. So it's all about the context. And then page exit rate, that's the people who leave your site at that time, regardless of what other pages they may have viewed. So that helps you to identify what pages on your site are perhaps not creating that interest, which are the weak pages. And again, look at the conversion funnel, the pages that you're trying to lead people down before they take their action. If you've got a page on there with a really high bounce rate, exit rate, that should not have a high exit rate because it's trying to get them through to another page on your site, then that's a weak page that needs some attention. Okay, so collecting analytical data is completely useless if you don't use that information. Okay, you can have as much information about your visitors and how they use your site as you want, but if you never do anything to act upon what that information is telling you, then it's completely pointless collecting it in the first place. And I'd rather bet there's quite a few people here who have got analytics installed, but have either never looked at it or look at it regular, but never actually make any changes to a site based on what they see. And if you're one of those people, then you really need to start looking at how you can improve your site based upon what analytics is telling you. Okay, so briefly just look at the importance of split testing. So split testing is best performed through AdWords. If you're not familiar with split testing, then I suggest you do a little bit of research on it. It's best done through AdWords because you can run two versions of the same content at the same time. Different people will see different versions, and eventually you'll get solid data that tells you which version is working best for your site. So it allows you to see what changes you're making to your site and what you're doing on your site works or doesn't work. If you don't want to do it through AdWords, if you can't afford it, or particularly for affiliates, it can be tricky to do it through AdWords because you're not creating the conversion yourself, you're trying to get someone through to a merchant website, then it is possible to do a form of split testing manually, and you can do that by comparing analytical data. So for instance, let's say if you made a change today, you could leave it for a month, and then you could compare the last month to the month before you made the change, and then look at the things that we mentioned on the last slide, such as your time on page, your bounce rate, exit rate, all of those kind of things, as well as your conversion rate, to help give you an idea. It's by no means as accurate as doing it through AdWords, but it gives you an idea of whether the changes you made had a positive, negative, or neutral effect. Okay, so doing split testing helps you establish the best design and layout for your website, helps you find out if your copy is coming from the right angle. Okay, just because I've stood up here and told you these tips are what you should be doing for conversions doesn't mean it necessarily applies to your website. The chances are it will, but only by testing it will you actually find out if it does appeal to your visitors or not. And equally, often what you think is best and what would appeal to you the most is not necessarily what would appeal to most of your visitors. Okay, so split testing helps you establish what your visitors like best as opposed to what you like best. And it also helps you to keep improving a website until its conversion rate is sky high. And the key with split testing is to test one thing at a time and then leave it long enough to be sure that whether it's had a positive, negative, or a neutral effect. The amount of time you have to leave it depends on how much traffic you're getting, how good quality that traffic is, and what type of site you have, how many conversions it makes. Okay, but you should be able to leave it for long enough for you to be fairly sure whether it's had a positive or negative effect or no change at all. And split testing is the holy grail of conversions. Only by testing will you ever learn anything about how visitors interact with your site and how you can get more people converting. Okay, so just to quickly summarize, I'll scan through these quite quickly because I know we're short on time. So be aware of where your visitors are in the buying decision-making process. Ensure every page on your site is following the awareness, interest, desire, and action AIDA model. Make full use of design, ensuring that all of your key points are standing out and above the fold. Put key information above the fold in an easy-to-spot manner. Include lots of you-focused and sensory language to connect with the visitor's emotions. Make it obvious what you want a visitor to do, and make it obvious how they can actually do that as well. Don't ever go through all the hard work of making somebody want a product and then not make it clear how they can actually get it. Follow the 25 listed tips on copy design and layout. Be constantly aware of the key metrics you can use to measure site performance, so always know what they are for your site. Regularly split test the changes to be 100% sure what is working and what is not. Okay? And it will also tell you if the 25 tips that I've just given you actually work for your site or not. Okay, so any questions? Yeah.
Is there any particular font and size that works best compared to anything else?
Yeah, generally it's regarded, I think it's 11 points in size or more. Not too much more, otherwise it'll become too big, but around 11 or 12 points would be about right. Generally people say that sans serif fonts, so the ones with sort of the edges with the lines on them, it's difficult. If you don't know what I mean, then you're going to have to look it up, because I don't know how to explain it any other way. Generally people say that they're easier to read. Personally, I'm not sure. I've got sites that don't use sans serif fonts, which seem to convert fine. So I'm not sure how much of an effect it has. A lot perhaps depends on how your website is designed, so the design around it and how much it's allowing the main content to stand out. Because that's another thing you might want to do as well. Look at the background color around your site, because that can help the text to stand out more. So basically just make sure that the text is large enough to read easily enough. Don't have it too small. Keep it black if you can as well. If you use grey on a white background, then it becomes harder to read. So it's just common sense, really, a lot of it, as to what is easier for somebody to read and what's more difficult.
Should all your, is it necessary that all your hyperlinks under keywords or a sentence are underlined, or can you just have them say in blue? Is it wrong to assume that people would know if it's not underlined that they can click on it?
I think it would be wrong to assume that, yeah. Now, I don't think it's a major thing. I think most people now, if text is in a different colour or is underlined, or both, then, and they hover over it and there's a hover over effect where it becomes a different colour or it becomes underlined or the underline goes off, whatever it is, as long as there's an effect on it when you hover over, people will realise that it's clickable. However, to be absolutely 100% sure, keep it the standard blue and underlined, because especially for people who are not that internet savvy, then that is what they're used to seeing for a hyperlink. So yeah, to be absolutely sure, keep it. Anyone else?
Or just from a design angle, do you design it in a specific resolution?
Again, it just comes down to appealing to as many visitors as possible. So have a look at your analytics, because that'll tell you what resolutions most people are using. But go right down. Generally, people are still using 800 by 600 as a resolution, especially those who are less internet savvy. So if you've got a site that might appeal to less internet savvy users, for example, a weight loss site will appeal more to less internet savvy people than, say, a webmaster site. And in which case, you might want to make sure that it is viewable in an 800 by 600 browser without horizontal scrolling, because then you'll make sure that everybody who visits will be able to see everything. Again, it comes back to putting key information above the fold as well. If your website is designed in a big resolution and most people are using a smaller one, then they'll be able to see even less on the site. So generally 800 by 600, sometimes you can design with bigger than that. Anyone else? No? Okay, just to give myself a shameless plug. Basically, I can offer consultations on website conversions. If anyone's interested, I can do written reports, telephone conversations, face-to-face analysis meetings, and it doesn't matter whether you're an affiliate or a merchant. or if you've whatever budget you've got, I can usually work out something to be able to help you out as well. So if anybody is interested in getting a consultation, then either see me sometime today. Andy's got my details if you wanted to go through Andy, or my email address is on my website, which is blacktigerlimited.co.uk. Okay.